Hey, what up? GM. Hey, Chad.
Hey, GM, how's it going?
So I'm in back at the old time, and I don't know where Chad B is, but I think he said he'd be coming, but I don't know where he is right now.
Yeah, hopefully he makes it in here, or it'll just be us babbling about stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, yeah, man, we are back, and with streaming swaps, I am so happy that we finally got that out the door and see some streaming swaps in the wild. Treasury tested some big streaming swaps, which had uh, pretty great execution, I would say, especially for like a first dry run. So, hey, I mean, I think that's pretty good outcome. Especially it's really going to help with the like to like transfers of like going from wrap Bitcoin to Bitcoin or synth. I can't wait to get some more functionality on it too, like adding to savers vaults or streaming in and out of synths is going to be pretty big, I think, because it's going to be the most cost efficient way to do that. And I mean, if the order book design doesn't change, and like entering order books and things like that, like it's definitely the way to go.
Yeah, definitely still going to be some cool use cases that are untapped, but great to see it in the wild just as a first start and already super powerful. So hopefully we see a lot of volume coming through that.
Yeah, I've seen a couple big swaps coming through THORSwap, at least like 150K like in size. Like I've seen a couple of them, not a ton, but I mean it's still like pretty early in the streaming swap days. Like all the tracking functionality isn't really there, and THORSwap's really the only interface that has it integrated right now. I'm still seeing giant whale swaps come through Trust Wallet pretty much like every day. Like we're seeing some crazy big swaps. Like we're seeing like 20 BTC swaps like going through Trust Wallet still, which is like pretty crazy actually.
Whoa,
Yeah,
that's probably some pretty yeah, substantial
they
slippage on
just
that.
ape in. Yeah, I'm not really sure what they're doing, but Trust Wallet even added like a little like modal that says how much price impact that you're taking on swaps. So like there really isn't. I mean, hey, listen, if they want to do swaps that badly, that's fine. It's fine by me or by anybody, you know. But obviously, we want people to like get as much value as they possibly can for a swap, and not like take a 5%, 10% haircut just by being two sides, you know.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if apps like that integrate streaming swaps and how they would show it in like a more simple, user friendly way.
Yeah, we definitely want like I mean I think it'd be positive to have trust do streaming swaps, but like I think we just definitely need to get more data around the feature and like see where the best execution really comes from because it, it's a slightly different product than just the regular swap thing, which is especially when you compare it to like other swap services, which are like you get a quote and that's like what you get no matter what. With streaming swaps, it's possible with like price movements or like things can happen during that period of time that can affect the outcome, which is yeah that's the kind of like weird design space that we're working in where
Yeah,
you try and execute like a Bitcoin ETH swap, and then the prices change during the, well, let's say your streaming swap takes an hour to complete. The prices change during that time. You could get substantially less or more than what you put in, depending on how the prices actually change. Um, so like it's a very different like mental like risk calculation that you have to take while doing a streaming swap, which is why I think we want to wait just a little bit before we do streaming swaps on Trust Wallet to get a little bit more data around like where the best execution comes from with streaming swaps, like what swap period, what how long the swap should be. Like, should we be doing hour long ones? Should we? Like, I don't think we should be sending through like 10-hour swaps through Trust Wallet, but like a 10-minute swap seems reasonable to me. but like it's just there's no like exactly correct answer. It's just kind of in the design space and figuring that out.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think it mostly just comes down to making it clear for the user and just so they know what they're getting into. And in the trust context, it's harder than say like THORSwap because like they have other stuff that's like not all strung together. So if people are used to swapping like certain routes or whatever, and then like these THORChain streaming swap routes are completely a different experience, then you know that's kind of an issue if it's not clear. But yeah, maybe over time as this becomes like something people are more familiar with, yeah, it'd be cool to see how they could get it in there in a simplified way. I mean, maybe it's similar to like what we're seeing on THORSwap right now, giving options. You know, essentially as like a different route, but not exactly. But yeah,
Yeah, one of the things which I think makes it a little complex is the price limits, where if you set a price limit, right, then you're saying if any swap executes below this price limit, then refund that leg of the swap at the end. So, let's say there's 10 swaps, seven of them complete above the price limit, and three fail because they didn't complete. Then all of a sudden you have this partially filled swap, which is like that's not really an experience you get anywhere else. And I don't think that's a particularly good experience, especially if like say there's one fails and you're stuck with like a small amount on one chain, which you can barely even swap again, but you were expecting the full amount out. So like I definitely want to see some more data around what just like doing a basically a raw streaming swap is like doing a streaming swap but without a price limit, because my like calculation like going into this is that with a streaming swap without a price limit, well, if you were to just do a regular swap, there's a chance that let's say like a pool is like really off balance at that moment, you could get kind of screwed on the execution. Um, and that chance isn't very high, but let's say like, a huge one of these like, 20, 50 Bitcoin swaps is coming through the pools and you just happen to execute at that exact same time, you could like you could face a like a loss um, just from the pools being off balance at that particular moment in time, which is like quickly corrected. But there are moments where like that's happened, and a price limit protects you from that. But if you don't set a price limit on a streaming swap, you're essentially like re-rolling those dice like 10 times or 1,000 times, however many swaps you're doing. So I'm wondering if it's if the risk is contained enough when you break up the swap enough times, but not going too many swaps. Start doing 100 swaps. It's kind of a different story than doing like 10 or 15 over like a 10-minute period. But if you're doing like a smaller number and not setting a price limit, I'm wondering like what the difference is between the quoted execution and the actual execution. Because if that's really tight and we make it there like 98% of the time, then I feel like that's a pretty good like spot to be in.
yeah, that's interesting. That just gave me like a weird idea, but like I wonder if you were streaming over a longer period of time, if the price was fluctuating such that like some swaps had executed where it was in your favor. I wonder if that could almost like cushion the downside if there was like a blip down to not cancel it. Like I don't know, maybe that's too complicated to like factor in the positive side. But yeah, I was just thinking because I hadn't really thought about that. What you were just saying of like a very quick blip in the pools being unbalanced, like causing it to then fail, even if it was like quickly recovering.
Yeah, I mean that could happen for sure, and I think that has happened in the past of like someone doing a single swap without a price limit, and like there was just a giga whale swap on that exact block, and they got bad execution because they didn't have a price limit and they just sent it through. But if you're sending in 10 swaps, and let's say one of them is impacted by that, that's only 1/10 of your entire swap impacted a by the price imbalance. So you're only getting like 1/10 of that effect, which is like very very rare. But it's also like these like Trust Wallet and other integrators, they want like guarantees. Like they don't want just like statistical like like yeah, this will probably not happen to to your users, but like, but you know, the quote could be way off of like what the actual execution is. So yeah, I'm just wondering like what
Yeah,
the
it
data
would.
is of like you know how close it is
Yeah,
like you know in with some range of confidence like you know given like you know millions and millions of swaps.
totally. Yeah, that like yeah, it might be cushioned a lot just because it's only like hypothetically one swap out of 10 or whatever it is. So like just because the price has dropped X%, your total swap output isn't affected like 10% or whatever. It's only like a 1% or something like more like that. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm like just thinking about with streaming swaps. Like, is it better to just not set a limit? Is it better to set a limit? Should we change the behavior of what happens when you set a limit on streaming swaps? Because it's not a like a UX that you get in any other like any other tool. It's very unique to this, which is you know when you're talking about integrations, it's not a great thing because there's like uh, you know, everyone understands like generally like how things should work, or they have an idea of like how like things should work. And like if every other service operates one way, we operate another way. You know, people go in with assumptions that you know that things all operate kind of on the same dimension, right? And if that's not the case, then you know then we're not providing the right service if people just can't like understand what's going on without having to like read a bunch of documentation and stuff. So
yeah, agreed.
yeah, let me take a look at some of these streaming swaps the Treasury did. Let's see, one of them is 753,000 uh, BUSD swapped to USDC. I believe the Treasury is doing some operations right now to move from BUSD, which is being deprecated by Binance and Paxos. I believe. I think that was a SEC thing, right? Um, they were moving from BUSD, and so now the Treasury is I get is basically testing streaming the capabilities of streaming swaps to move large amounts from like different assets, and they did it with some BTCB, some Binance pegged BTC, some Binance pegged ETH, and then BUSD, moving that to USDC. Um, and yeah, the execution on that is like fairly. It's almost like what a curve quote would be. Um, it's 756,000 BUSD, and think we got out 753. So I think about like 3,000 in like total slip from BUSD to USDC with a you know that's just using like THORChain like main pools, no DexAg or anything, just streaming it over 24 hours, which is about like a 1% uh, price impact, which is pretty crazy honestly, because like we never would have been there before. Like but the old quote was nowhere near that amount.
Yeah, yeah. That's a huge breakthrough for sure. I mean, that's like pretty damn good for that size.
Yep, and the other one's executed even tighter to what the quote is. But I do have a feeling that the quotes are going to be pretty accurate for the like to like when you're going like you know in stablecoin or wrap Bitcoin to Bitcoin or just anything that's going to have like a like price and stay that way. But the the quotes for non-like assets I feel will be somewhat unpredictable just because you can't you just don't know what's going to happen over the time dimension. So it's you know longer the longer execution you give it, the more chance there is for there to be like volatility, which affects the end outcome.
Do you know of any dashboards yet that make it easy to just browse through what's going on with streaming swaps? Whether that's like total volume or just like seeing the streaming swaps coming in.
I haven't seen anything yet. I feel like ViewBlock put a tag on it, but I don't think you can search for it yet. Checking right now. Um, no, I don't even see a tag for streaming swaps on here. So no, I wouldn't even know where to check for a streaming swap like dashboard right now. I haven't seen any. I haven't seen anyone post about like a just streaming swap dashboard. So um, no, nothing yet on that. But I think like Doorstop is working on some tracking things around this, right? Where just like tracking like individual transaction execution, because if you're doing 10 swaps and some might fail, it's kind of an important UX thing to be able to like show someone what's going on, especially when we're talking about like longer windows of execution and like not knowing what's happening with your funds for like a couple hours at a time, possibly.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I'm sure. I don't know exactly what's going on with that, but I would imagine you're right. I'm sure that's something that they're working on.
Yeah, what else is new? Let's see. We just got a new version shipped yesterday. What's going on with Doorstop, Chad? What's new?
Just like shipping season, man. Like it feels like there's so many things going on right now. Again, we've been here many times, right? But yeah, I mean, right now it like just the streaming swap launch is obviously like super exciting, which we've already just gone through all that, but getting that live on the interface and all of that. What else is going on? Um, Lots of, well, I mean, can't spill the beans, but there's a lot of great partner stuff coming together. So that's really exciting, and that's of course still like the really the North Star, getting swap kit everywhere. This stuff around stringing together L2s and other EVMs, I think is going to be like a pretty major breakthrough, just because then you can essentially have the same THORSwap experience, but with chains that are not even integrated into THORChain. So that'll be really cool just for expanding the use case. So that's another big one coming relatively soonish. I know there's already been like lots of tests and stuff working.
And you guys had a recent thing with OKX, right? You just added support for OKX's multi-chain wallet. They have like a Web3 wallet.
Yeah, yeah, that's new. So that's cool. And with a lot of these, integrations can go both ways. So sometimes it's good to kind of like integrate one side and then use that to hopefully get the other side integrated. So yeah, that was a new little thing that shipped in the last week or so. But yeah, for OKX wallet users, like you can just connect straight to THORSwap. So that's pretty cool. What else am I missing? I feel like I'm missing one or two cool things, I think. But
Yeah, you guys are always cooking. I mean, yeah. I mean, there really is always so much going on. I can't even keep track of it all anymore. Because there's just so many things like lending. I don't want to like go too deep into lending. This is definitely Chad's area, and I definitely do not pay as much attention to lending stuff as like like Chad or like anyone like Orion, anyone like closer to like the shipping out lending like side of things. But I know that just to give like a from like a what I know like update on lending, the okay, so the block science has been working on the risk report, and I believe that is all shipped out, and they've come out with recommendations for like starting parameters for lending. So right now the team is working to first like test lending on StageNet. There's new fixes coming out that I believe were just shipped in this last version. But it's possible we might need another version or two to ship out more. I'm not 100% sure on that, but yeah. So there's like a couple bug fixes that need to go in for lending, and then the team is working on an ADR for lending right now. So that'll give the starting parameters for lending, and that'll be the final vote to actually get things kicked off. So I believe they're trying to get that out in the next like I'm going to say the next 2 weeks in a lending ADR and like actually kick off the governance process to get it going. But it's been a long time coming, and yeah, we have like oh yeah, so to go along with the risk report, there's also economic simulations that that the block science team put together. So it basically like creates this simulation for like THORChain as a whole, and like it emits events, emits swaps, emits loans being taken out, loans being closed, and gives you an idea of like what can happen in the protocol. Like does this like do all these events coming together like mint rune, does it burn rune, does it make us hit the circuit breaker, do things like carry on as normal. So it's a framework that anyone can use. It's going to be available for anyone to actually make use of if you'd like, and it can help actually simulate like what can happen in particular situations in terms of like basically the entire health of THORChain with all of this, because obviously there's a lot of complexity around a bunch of different systems and things that different systems that affect each other in the larger system. So the testing framework should be available to everybody, and the ADR should be out hopefully in the next 2 weeks to actually get lending out the door. But not trying to like jump the gun or anything on lending, because I'm not the closest one to that. I would normally ask Chad B for that, but that is, as far as I know, the most recent update on shipping lending.
Yeah, sounds like it's getting pretty close. So great. Let's go.
And Patriot, hey, what's up, man? I brought you up.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
All right, awesome. Hey, always nice to talk to you, gentlemen. Thanks. I just want to make an announcement to everyone in the THORChain community who happens to listen to this. We started a Discord group for marketing, basically. So basically how this started is, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to Ledger's Twitter, but they tweeted something very interesting. And basically what it was is they said there was the reason why they expedited THORChain to integrate it is because they had a sheer number of people just demanding chronically. And so a kind of a light bulb popped in a couple of our heads. It's like, it's something you intuitively know, but it's something like, man, we really need to push this. Is, there's always people coming on the stage asking, when is THORChain going to do marketing? When is THORChain going to do marketing? And the truth is, we are the marketing, because Ledger, according to them, integrated not necessarily something that I said, or maybe Chad Thoreau said, or Familiar Cal, but it was you guys, everyone listening to this space. And so we created this group, the Crypto Roundtable. And what it is just a group of individuals. Sam Yap's in there, Kenton, Crypto Sailor, a bunch of great THORChads. And what we do is we're just going to promote THORChain. It's decentralized. We basically just push content. And what's great is, we can ask questions. We can, if we make a thread, we can run through it with other people. We get each other's opinions because we all have diverse backgrounds. Kenton, a very good THORChad who recently made an awesome video. He's a marketing guy. That's his job. And so we're able to bounce ideas off someone who's an elite thinker in this field. Because I come from medical side, marketing is not my deal. Okay. So if anyone's interested in this, please DM me and I'll shoot you a link to the Discord. I love to have all of you guys in there because people listen to this. Like, there are so many intelligent people in this crowd. And the people who really understand THORChain are you guys who listen to these spaces day in and day out. So I think if we just had a loose organization where we all put our brains together and we're constantly pumping out content, whether it's threads or reaching out to, influencers in the space. Maybe you've seen that. I think it'd be potentially really great. We've already had great success. Rob, he has like a lot of numbers by name, but I'll just call him Rob. He's done great. We had Ghostwriter. He had a lot of traction too. We actually got, I think it was Ghostwriter. He got Exodus wallet to respond. And then based on that, we then were able to follow up and really let them know, hey, there's a whole group of people who are excited about a potential integration with Exodus. So this is working. So I'm hearing myself for some reason. But anyway, another thing you can do, if you're not interested in the Discord, what I recommend and what I've done is I've actually created a Twitter list. So all the people who I follow, I put them on a specific THORChain list. So THORChain Bowl, Pluto, Chad B, Decentrify, THORSwap, Furs Wallet, whatever. All the different and that way, when I'm time limited, I click on my THORChain list and I'm able to see what everyone has on one stream, and I'm able to quickly share lots of content from lots of other THORChats. So if this is something you can do and organize, great. It seems to be working really well, and we're just getting started, and we want more the merrier. Okay, so I hope you guys join. But that's all I got, guys.
Thanks, man. No, I joined the group, and I can definitely confirm what Ledger said about the community actually making a pretty big impact on the integration happening. Because yeah, when I was at the Ledger like headquarters a couple weeks ago in Verazon, we I talked with the Ledger like team, and they were all like, yeah, everyone was asking for a THORChain integration, so we kind of had to do it. And even the support team, the Ledger like support people, came up to the dev team and was like, you guys need to do this. People are asking for this. So like it is like that is definitely not lost on me. And I think I mentioned that before, that obviously the community holds like a lot of power, because it is all just like word of mouth marketing, and like the marketing, like the quote unquote marketing that THORChain does. I mean, in my opinion, it's best directed at integration partners. Like THORChain itself isn't like a retail facing app. Like you can't just tell someone, oh hey, go use THORChain, because it's like there's no canonical front end. It's just a protocol that says like, when I get this Bitcoin, do this with it. So it's used by all these front ends, like like Ledger, like Trust Wallet, like THORSwap. So like that's really where it's best directed at, and obviously not those ones I'm talking about, but where we want to be, to get the protocol to the place where it is, we're just really powering the aggregate of like DeFi cross chain swap volume, which is definitely where we can be, and like where I think we'll be in the next like 9 to 12 months. So yeah, I mean, the goal is to be in every single major app. But it's also like, I would like to say that it is important not to like brigade and to like AstroTurf and things like that. Like, it's important to actually be like, a genuine, just like, good like internet citizen, I feel, and to just not be like not be a dick, but like at the same time to just like explain to people what's going on here, because a lot of people just have no idea, and it's not even just that they don't care, don't see that it's useful. A lot of people just don't have the time to like just learn about everything that's going on in this space. There's literally so much in the industry, and yeah, I mean, definitely taking like it does make an impact. Is what I'm trying to say here. So
that
thanks.
last point was really good too, is like not to just become some Schiller group, like a bunch of shit you see on Twitter and stuff, but like to rather actually just be like a good, clear-headed person who can just well explain why this stuff matters and why it's important. And I think like our community is definitely on the mature end of the spectrum when it comes to crypto, but good to keep that in mind. Don't just go around spamming and stuff like that. But do you have a tweet to this link somewhere that we could pin up, just so everyone can hop in?
Yeah, okay. I'll put it in the comments. I'm sorry, my hands are a little busy right now. I'm working, and I totally agree with you. Listen, the reason why I'm on this stage talking to the people in this group is because you guys are in the know. We do not want people to have some mindless hype train and putting out nonsense out there, because I think that can be more harmful than good. We want to be honest and real with what we're saying. We want to have reasonable expectations. We want to be forthcoming with the risks, because let's be honest, this is a new protocol. We have features that have never existed before. This is a risky thing, but we definitely want to promote, what we're doing, because this is truly revolutionary. Our developers work really hard on this protocol, and I think it's time we stepped up, guys. And I'm very excited. So yeah, you guys can drop me from the speaker output and put a link in there so people can join up. And I thank you again. Bye, guys.
Thanks, man. You can come up anytime, by the way. You can, and anyone else, if you got thoughts or just things you want to say, just in general. Like these are just open calls. Like this is I don't just do this to hear myself talk. So if anyone wants to to join and this join the discussion, then we're always just here. These are like pretty open things. Chad likes to talk a lot. Not me and this Chad.
We do some talking, but other Chad is the highlight.
You can't get him. You can't stop him.
Truly.
But
except
yeah,
right now. Today we stopped him.
Yeah. So
all right, boys. I dropped a link in there, so you should be good to go. Thanks, everybody.
Cool. I'll put it up for a bit. Let's definitely. I'll jump in there. Sounds good.
cool. What's up, Prime Directive?
Hey, just a quick kind of piggyback off of that, like the good kind of marketing instead of just a bunch of pumpy shill stuff. I was watching Ivan on Tech this morning, and he went in for about like a good couple of minutes. He was just making a point about how he would rather hold any shitcoin over some international currencies, like based on all this hyperinflation and all that stuff. And he gave a great example of why. He said, because I can instantly with a couple clicks just go right to ETH. And you know what, if I want to just be like I think he said something like, if I just want to be a meat eating maxi and just get some Bitcoin, all I have to do is use THORChain. And he just in a few sentences, he just made such a clear explanation of how with just one click he can switch his ETH to Bitcoin, and it's over. I know he's a fan of the project. I know that he's had Chad on for an interview, and he just hit 500,000 followers, and it's a great example of why I'm really happy that it's never been all kinds of pumpy, buy this coin, it's going to go to the moon and all that. There's just been this like silent, constant quality building going on, and then you get a quality influencer like that giving a perfect example of why this is important. Nobody, now people can look into that. It's not like, oh, buy this coin, it's going to pump instantly. Like it was just a great example. Just wanted to share that. It's just a testament to the good hard work that's been going on for years here.
That's cool. I think Chad had a great interview with Ivan on Tech, probably about 9 months ago. I want to say maybe around like last November or something like that. So definitely check that out. Ivan's been around too. I think there was an old interview with him, before mainnet. But there's been some recent stuff, and he's in the know, and he's a very sharp guy that like understands like what's going on in this space. Yeah, man, maxis are so interesting, aren't they? Like people that just like only believe, people that are just so firm in their belief that they just can't like look up. It feels like I don't know if we want to go to the whole conversation about this, but like I do think it's really interesting how people like will just pick one thing and then not ever like change that belief or anything. Although I do, maybe personally, I think it is sort of like engagement farming like bait on Twitter, because when you post things that are very controversial, it generates a lot of engagement and makes things like really blow up. So like being toxic on Twitter is definitely like a kind of an account like growth hack sort of thing. So I don't know, maybe it's just that maybe people actually like just believe that only one way is going to be the future. But
you could be right, but the bummer is like the regular people listening that maybe are just newer to crypto or don't know, like they definitely fall into that. Because like I don't know about you, but if I go onto like my personal Twitter and like anytime I see crypto stuff pop up in my personal Twitter feed, it's like 90% of the time Bitcoin maxi shit, and they like seem to actually believe it, unfortunately. So people definitely get pulled in by those big accounts.
Oh, this is my personal Twitter.
Not mine.
What you doing on there, Chad? You doing those NPC dances?
Yeah, I just been making $7,000 a day and buying Rune.
Same, man. Oh, you know what? That reminds me of something that I wanted to say. Something that I've been like thinking about. I was gonna write a tweet on this. Maybe I still will, and maybe this will help me like fully form the idea. But um, okay, this is just me talking here. Um, I'm thinking that okay, when when like the mainnet finally launched and like the proof of concept of like actually being able to have this multi-chain exchange was first launched, Rune price was about like what 20 bucks. Like it very very expensive, right? And you look at today, Rune's a little less than $1, and it's never been more accessible to be to be a node operator of like the THORChain network. Really, the only people who have like had access to that in the past is people who were like extremely early, and obviously the people who are building the project. A lot of it is based off of like no one knew that this is even possible. Like when the coin was like first sold, like I definitely was not around, and probably like a lot of people here just like we're not around either, right? I know Chad, you weren't, and it's there hasn't been an opportunity to like affordably like be one of the operators of this network, which is basically I think the most important thing when it comes to decentralization, like how many different unique operators there are that are basically pitted against each other to keep the vaults secure. Because when it becomes that there's less and less operators, then I feel like there's a greater chance of collusion or things happening to the vaults. It's more centralized, right? The more operators there are, the more decentralized it is. So my theory, and like it kind of just like what I'm thinking about with this lower like Rune price, is that it is a great positive for the future of THORChain, because it means that it's more accessible to be one of the 100 to 150 node operators, which this network will eventually have. So by having like that lower Rune price, making it more accessible, and obviously we have things now like being a bond provider. Like it's never been more accessible to actually provide bond, but more importantly, it's like in who can operate. And like it hasn't really been viable to buy Rune at like much higher prices to be a node operator. And like looking at it now, I feel like if I was looking to start operating a node, if I was like Coinbase or Binance or like whoever else, and obviously this is just like just me like speculating, now would be the time to like to be accumulating enough to buy a Thor node, and to like actually contribute to the decentralization of the network, and to provide that bond and like earn Rune like now. So I don't know, just like thinking about it, like is Rune price being low? Like obviously it's not like a positive thing when you think about like the hard cap and like the amount of liquidity that the network can support. But it is good that we can hopefully bring in more long-term aligned actors who were previously like unable to justify doing that, to actually like come in and be like a force in the network. So I'm wondering what you guys think about that.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely more accessible than it has been at any time since the early days, I suppose. And now there's a lot more people that do know about it. I think a lot of the people that would want to are also down pretty bad. But for those that, at least for individuals. But yeah, you make a good point with like, especially with institutions and stuff like that, definitely lowers the bar for major players, funds, all those different things to potentially contribute like that. So makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, like the risk reward of getting one Thor node now versus, I mean, like or just trying to accumulate enough to operate one now versus like months and months ago. It's just I think it's kind of a different calculus, and obviously it is kind of hinged on like on just like the Rune like price action, and like Rune has to like kind of behave a bit. But you know, I mean, I don't think the dark times will last forever, and there's definitely you know, players who probably scaled back in the times when there's a lot of excess that are probably scraping together some pennies right now to run some Thor nodes. I mean, that's probably what that's what I'd be doing if I was like of that like you know, if I had the means to do that, like that's probably what I would be doing to just operate some of this network because especially when you look at like, you know, where we're getting integrated and how much like swap volume is going through the network, and you know, us hitting this kind of critical mass of like balance between um, organic fees and block rewards, and that already being in the positive direction in like the depths of the bear market with only one major integration. I think there's a pretty good case to uh, like be like accumulating enough room to buy a node right now. So I don't know. That's my like kind of theory. We'll see how that plays out in the next like couple of years, I guess.
Yeah, agreed. If I had the means, I'd be doing that too.
Yo, Paper X, what's up, man?
Hey, Paper.
Hey, just on this topic, actually, I've been curious, but I mean, obviously, I have no idea like how like actually running a node works. I just know obviously we're making a very positive transition towards having more metal nodes. But you know, like every so often I see users sort of saying like, hey, I joined like I contributed like this much bond for this node operator. And I see, you know, from time to time, like I thought like you know, I saw THORChain Bull say, you know, like, hey, I've got like, you know, I'm running another bare metal node, and you know, like I'm open to like people contributing bond. So I was wondering, is there like a I guess like a very, you know, explain to me like on five sort of like tutorial on how like I guess like typical THORChain users can get involved with something like that, like, you know, pitching to bond a node.
Yeah, sure. So with this new bond provider, by new I mean like it's like at least 6 months old, maybe a year old at this point. You can actually permissionlessly non-custodially provide bond for a node operator, but you shouldn't do it unless you actually really trust that node operator, because they can still lose your funds. And that's so they don't hold control of it, but let's say they you know, did some double signs, or they, you know, somehow behave maliciously to the network, or they get slashed. That's your bond that gets slashed. So like you shouldn't just provide to anybody, and you should also you know, just be smart about it. But you provide the bond to the network. So let me go through like the process and the way that this works. So a node operator can you know, they can find someone who can be the bond provider for them. So they can, you know, they can start operating the node, and they can say, hey, let's say Chat Thoreau wants to be a bond provider. He's got enough room for me to churn in, so I'm gonna whitelist him. So you have to whitelist from the node side. So the node operator, you know, they send a transaction that says whitelist Chad's address, and then they also they put in a fee. So they say, I'm going to collect 20% of the rewards. Chad keep 80% of the rewards. I'm going to keep 20 as the node operator fee. So every node also has a fee they can set. They can make it 0, where the bond providers get all the rewards for the room that they put in. They can make it, you know, 20%, which I think is that's pretty much the standard that I've seen. Is a lot of nodes do 20%, which I think is totally fair, because obviously there's like very real infrastructure costs to running a node, and you know, you shouldn't expect that service to be provided for free. So 20% is pretty standard. And then all you have to do is actually provide the bond. So you don't have to send it to the node operator. It's not custodial or anything. In fact, you can do it right on THORSwap, which is where I like to do it, and where I know a lot of other people do it. There's a node management tab on THORSwap where you can just click on whatever node that whitelisted you. So that you have to be whitelisted first, obviously, and then you can just, you know, type in however much, sign your ledger or do your key store or whatever, and then just you send it into the network. So it does a message deposit type transaction where it just deposits it to the bond module, and then you're in. and you're collecting whatever kind of rewards are specified. So if you want to link up with a node operator to do this, obviously like you should take care not to do with someone who's trusted, like Nine Realms, like THORChain Bull, but also like take care for the decentralization of the network. If everyone just provides to one bond provider, that then everything gets skewed towards that one provider. So there's some new channels in the THORChain dev Discord, which maybe some people haven't seen yet. It's really new. It's something that we're just like trying out right now. There's also some more discussion going on right now about how to scale bond providers. Like, do we want to scale it so there's unlimited bond providers with no whitelist? Maybe not. There's still a lot of like ongoing discussion about this. This will definitely change, especially if you're listening to this in the future. Then this could be like completely out of date. But as of now, that's how it works. Any node operator can whitelist up to 10 bond providers, so it's not unlimited. This is to prevent like some kind of like network capture attack. So anyway, the forums that are on the THORChain dev Discord, obviously the THORChain dev Discord links are in the it's buried in the Linktree bio in the THORChain account if you want to get to it easily. Also in the documentation, you can find it if you poke around enough. And there's a new section that I made called THORnode Ops, which has two sections. One called Pooled THORnodes, where you can that's where anyone can like engage in some general discussion. They can ask questions and just be open. Because obviously, when things start going into DMs, that's when like scams start happening, and no one knows what's going on. And not that it's not safe to DM node operators, but we definitely need like a forum where you can just openly talk and ask questions and make sure that things are kosher like in front of the community. So that's what the Pooled THORnodes channel is for. And then there's a new forum, which is kind of like something new that we're trying, called Node Providers, where any node operator can go in and they can make a post. It looks like an old school like forum, but it's in Discord. Any node operator can make a post there, just with all their details. So they can say like, "Hey, I'm open for delegations. This is my fee, and like this is like some of our process, So it's basically where any node can advertise their services. So if you're looking to provide bond to a node and like earn like single-sided rune, then I would go to the node providers channel in the THORChain dev Discord and contact a node operator and see what you can do about providing bond. And obviously, like being very responsible about that, doing your research and reading the documentation beforehand, so you know the risks. I think I explained it fairly well. So it's not like it's super risky if you're with the trusted provider, but you need to have there's some level of trust you need to have with that node operator to not lose your funds. Hope that explained it.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. Just had a user ask me about it, so yeah, it's good. I'll point them towards the channel on the dev Discord. But actually, as a follow-up to that, I've been curious because you remember a while ago we shipped the multi-sig like THORSafe functionality for on the THORSoft interface, and I think one of the things ideas we're playing around with at the time was that potentially a group of THORShares could get together to manage a node, but do it obviously in a more trustless manner, through like a multi-sig. I'm curious actually, since that functionality is being shipped, do you know any node operators maybe potentially with 10 whitelisted addresses are actually managing their nodes this way? Would love to hear some feedback or.
Well, to start, there's very few that actually have 10 bond providers. Now, I don't think that was really your question, but okay, so if I'm looking at the dashboard right now, there's, I think, 2, maybe 3 nodes that have 10 bond providers. I see 3 nodes with 10 bond providers, and there's only a handful over 4 or 5, to be honest. So we're definitely running a THORnode is definitely not just everyone just pitches in a little bit, and I definitely don't think that makes for the network security. But just to be clear, like there isn't a ton of people running 10 nodes. I'm not actually sure like who's using THORSafe. It's not like I'm definitely not in contact with a bunch of people that are like running nodes or like doing anything like that. So like I really don't know what people are doing. But yeah, so I'm not actually sure. Although like I have to say I haven't really used the THORSafe that much just because like it's not like I have like a really use for it myself. So I haven't really played around with it too much. But as far as I remember, there's like there's like to sign messages you need to like pass around some files between like you and the other signers and sign them in order and things like that. So that can also be used for like things like a message deposit for to add a bond.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the functionalities built into it. Because I think that was one of the intentions, from what I remember anyway. Shipping multi-sig on THORChain. One of the motivations was like, hey, this would be really useful for node operators. And yeah, just be good to know if any node operators have been using it, or are interested in using it, or they're not even aware of it. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of like, I just wanted to bring that up, and as part of this conversation, because I was just reminded of it.
Yeah, that could definitely be useful. I mean, I guess that could. So I guess the difference is then that would be like some kind of shared custody of the assets, where it's like just doing a regular bond provision that it's completely non-custodial, where you just bond with the network and it gets attributed to that node operator's bond. So it's like a different thing, but it definitely could be useful for anybody. And yeah, like the root multisig is a thing. So if people didn't know that, then it's on THORSwap. I think you have to enable it in the settings, right, to actually see it, possibly.
Yeah, it's part of the pro mode that we've got in the settings. I'm not gonna lie, like, because THORChain obviously it doesn't support like smart contracts in the EVM smart contract sense, so it's a little bit more complex than like Gnosis, say, for like any of these multi-sigs that you might have used in the past. So we sort of put it in the pro mode just because honestly, like, there's a bit of a learning curve there. So yeah, but it's definitely there. And it's really like, I remember we built it and shipped it because I remember Chad B was saying like there was node operators who were like kind of requesting the feature for something, or was quite important to the protocol. So yeah, just curious if it's getting any use, or maybe some use cases we haven't covered yet that maybe the UI can sort of be improved on.
That's a good question. I would definitely ask about it in the dev Discord. I'm not sure if people are using it anymore. Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm sure there are people that are using it. Maybe not. Maybe you guys should track that on your website who's using it and who's not, just to get a better idea on like what the actual usage is. But I feel like now that there's bond providers, it's easy enough to just to provide and to not have to deal with the multi-sig. Like I know, like I would prefer just to non-custodially provide a bond rather than to have to deal with like signing transactions and giving up custody. But yeah, I could definitely see it being useful for certain cases for sure. I'm sure people do use
Okay,
it.
man.
Yeah.
I mean, we use it in our team, just for OPSEC purposes. So hey, if you didn't know THORChain has multi-sigs, like, there you go.
That's sick. Yeah. Anything else you want to say about THORSwap or anything new that's going on? We talked briefly about it with the OKX wallet and stuff like that. I'm not sure what else you guys have been shipping or cooking up recently.
To be honest, we've got quite a lot of things. Like, I probably have, I don't know, like, I want to say 6 or 7 Medium articles sitting in drafts. So
I feel that.
yeah. So there's definitely a lot on the pipeline. Other than the usual, like improving the UX, just making things easier to use, and we've got we're trying to improve our decentralization and community governance. So we just had our third community governance proposal. Ended like on-chain voting. Got another one to go up soon. So yeah, just kind of formalizing the process around that for like Thor and VThor stakers to be able to like contribute and guide, the protocol. And I think you guys were talking about marketing before as well, right? So part of that is, I guess, a lot of the proposals and ideas are coming up on the THORSwap Discord are related to that as well. So yeah, I definitely want to collaborate and with any THORChats with the connections and ideas around like marketing and obviously reaching out to protocols for integration. Yeah, that's also quite a lot of things being worked on there for sure.
Yeah, I feel like the integrations has just been going super well. Like I feel pretty bullish about like everything that we've been doing during like the past basically 8 months, like everything that we've been doing this year for integrations. I don't know. It feels like some are always going to be tough because a lot of integrators are tooled for EVM only, but I feel like that's the main hang up, where it's not like people don't see the value of the service and don't like, and especially with SwapKit where it makes it really easy to go from just EVM to to supporting EVM and UTXOs and Cosmos and multiple wallets, which is like things that nobody in ETH world thinks about. Because it's like, oh yeah, let's just hook up my MetaMask and sign away all my sign away all my stuff. Yeah, so yeah, it's just like totally interesting space, but it feels like there's been such good reception from like people seeing the value of THORChain, and hopefully we can nail down some great SwapKit integrations. I know some good stuff's in the pipe there, but I'm really excited to see some major ones come out.
Yeah, I really agree with what Patriot said previously about the community coming together collectively to just increase the awareness around like what THORChain does, which sometimes can get buried under like, oh, we've already have bridges or we already have this other centralized service. So I think like because it's been 2 years now, we're so used to that concept of like being able to do it, like Bitcoin to ETH, what was once the holy grail of like DeFi, right? That sometimes we forget that people they literally like it's not on their radar, like we were talking about maxis before, right? So like literally even now you still have people who are not even aware that THORChain can do this. So I think this is a bit of a personal anecdote and I'm not going to name obviously like the protocols or like people involved, but I've literally spoken with like BDs at other protocols, and after like 3 meetings I realized like, oh, they still don't realize we do native swaps. Like, because it's so used to the concept of like, oh, it's just like a bridge or like you're wrapping assets. They'll be like, oh, we have that already. And you have to explain to them. It's like, oh, no. I checked out your project. I checked out your app. It's a centralized solution, right? It's not actually native Bitcoin. Because sometimes, you have people who are maybe just talking to someone that's like working like a product manager or for marketing. Like they actually like they themselves might not understand the difference, or maybe they're so ingrained in the layer 2 or whatever protocol they're working on, they just don't have time to like understand what THORChain does, obviously. So I think sometimes it's like really important to take like many steps back to kind of like guide people to like to get to that point, right?
Yeah, no, that's totally what I've experienced too. They just don't really realize that this is even possible, and even if they do, it is a big leap to move past just EVM and the biggest issue. Like, I'm just gonna keep saying this because it's so true. Is just the wallet support, because when your whole site and your whole app is tooled around being able to sign a transaction on an EVM wallet on MetaMask, like it's just not even possible to do anything else. So it's like, okay, maybe this is a dumb analogy, but I'm kind of thinking of it as like, how like language kind of constricts thought, and in the fact that like just whatever language you speak, that is basically the way that your like brain trains you to think about things. Where it's kind of the same way, where it's like maybe it's more akin to like a paradigm, where it's like if like the only thing is like connecting EVM wallets, then you don't know anything outside of that whole space, which is continuing to grow, because obviously we're building the tools to actually grow outside of EVM, and like making that easy. But it's still quite complex because there's no like I mean, literally, I think the only major-ish wallet that does multi-chain really well is XDeFi, and that's because they've been in the THORChain space since day one. Um, and I think that's one thing wallets are going to really have to get right, especially the major wallets, if they really want to grow and see that huge user adoption, is supporting native protocols, but then also supporting apps that are built on those protocols. So just expanding beyond EVM is going to be pretty big. It's just quite difficult to actually make that leap these days because wallet support just isn't there. What wallet are you going to connect for your Bitcoin wallet that it has actual traction and support in that community? I don't know. maybe Ledger Connect. Like how THORSwap does it, where you can connect your ledger directly. I love that personally, but is that even enough to gain a critical mass of people being able to interact with native Bitcoin? That's a good question.
Yeah, I think sometimes you kind of have to flip it on its head, conceptually, because sometimes people get very defensive, right? Because they're focused on their protocol, and they don't want liquidity or users leaving their protocol. So so people like to say oh, we're a multi-chain, we're omni-chain or whatever the latest term for it is. But really deep down, they're no, we want all the users, right? So, but I think because obviously we're in a bear market, so everyone's fighting for whatever users are still left. But I think the truly the protocols and projects are here for the long term. By the time it hits the next bull market, that's when you want to that's when the BTC dominance drops and it flows to those altcoins and layer one, layer twos, and that's when they would need that BTC liquidity, right? Where is it going to come from? So I think the projects that have that long-term vision, they will understand this is really useful because it's not just our users going away to Bitcoin, but it's also Bitcoin coming into my chain and my project. But sometimes, yeah, that takes a bit of you have to think of from the other side, which is a little bit hard, I guess. Which is what I was saying before. It's sometimes it's not at the community marketing. It's not just bombarding maxis to say hey, this is better or worse, but rather if they're doing really well, you could always just pitch them you can do better with access to currently siloed liquidity. They're not part of your community, but they could be. And that just takes time to get them to really think about it that way.
Yep, 100% PaperX. Yeah, thanks for coming up, man. And if anyone else wants to come up on stage, I don't know, I don't think there's a ton more to say for this week. Just continuing to grind away. I'm just gonna go through and see if there's any big new changes that came in the last version, which I'm forgetting. There's just a lot of fixes, a lot of aggregator stuff. See, streaming swaps. Yeah, a lot of prep work being done for lending right now, which is pretty much the next major thing. So we're waiting on the ADR there, obviously.
Got Crypto Sailor connecting.
Yo, what's up, man?
Hello, just testing my mic. Can you hear me?
Yep. We hear you.
Excellent. I just came up to just talk about, a lot of the interesting things we're doing. People are talking about marketing and stuff like this. And there's a group of us who are working on this, trying to bring something together, and I'm just helping organize it. Not as much leading it, but just trying to create a space for organization for this. I believe that's the Discord link to our Discord already pinned in this space. And there's lots of interesting things going on. And very thankful that some other people are interested in this or working together on contributing to this. So hopefully we'll have some more concrete ideas to share and things like this going forward. And definitely feel free to reach out to me in regards to that if you need to. So far, what we're doing is just working conceptually on ways to understand and communicate THORChain one of the things, the points that I try to reinforce is the fact that THORChain is probably the most sophisticated DeFi protocol in the world. It's like 100 times more complex than Bitcoin. So there's, if we look at the expounding upon and the books that have been written by and the conferences that have been held for Bitcoin just itself, you would have to do it, at least that much, in terms of unpacking everything that it's about. So there's a lot of work to do on communications, and definitely I'm very excited to see efforts going forward in that direction with what we're doing.
Yeah, totally agree, man. I've thought about, like, I don't know about writing a book, but like writing a, like, how Eric Voorhees had that great article about when Mainnet released about like THORChain for Bitcoiners, I believe the name was, and like really dumbed it down. But the thing is, like, when you're moving this fast in this space, like, whenever you write something, it's almost immediately obsoleted, which has kind of like stopped me from writing a lot of like longer things, because I don't want to just write something and then it's like, even when there's any part that is like not correct, like obviously I wouldn't want to release something like that. And when things change so often as they do here, like, just writing anything about, like, the dynamics of a network like this, or even just referencing any kind of like principles that principles I guess are pretty like sturdy, but like in terms of like how like different dynamics, I would love to do that, but like things change so quick that I feel like once you were to publish something or just like get people to read it, within 6 months, it's like there's whole sections that are probably completely wrong. So like I hope we do get to the point one day in the next, like, 2 to 3 years where we're like done shipping new features. Like it's fairly ossified. Like we're not like we have lending out, we have perps out, we have like every major network feature is shipped and like in the hands of the people, and people are using it. We have integrations, and then maybe someone can sit down and write the THORChain book, so to speak, in like the a Bitcoin standard type thing, or even just like a mastering Bitcoin type piece, because I think things like that are really useful, and ossification is useful in being able to like really deeply understand a system, because unless you're just in this space, like the THORChain space, like every single day, and like really like keeping up with what's going on, it's very easy to not, to just like, check out for a little bit, and then things are like, things are changed quite significantly, and like, there's a lot of precedent for that in the past. So I do look forward to the day one day when we can look back and say like, damn, look at all that we did, and then we're finally like at least feature complete. So, and then we can start like actually communicating everything that we did, and like in a way that won't be like obsoleted in the future, likely, I hope.
Yeah, for sure. It's obviously tough to sit down and write about it, but it's like the value proposition is so massive, and in a lot of ways, it's hard. Like, so every crypto project in the world is going to put on their website that they like did it all, and they're the #1 blockchain that's going to rule the world. So breaking through people's skepticism of having heard that all the time is a super big challenge. And it comes a lot down to just wording and phraseology and just communicating the value proposition, all of which is really hard to do. So yeah, definitely looking forward to working more on that, and seeing the realization of the value of the project. I think THORChain is just important as a part of an interchain ecosystem. The group that I'm creating is also referred to as the Interchain Roundtable, and whatever we do with any one crypto project, like you said, ossification of the protocol, standardization of features, eventually with an app chain, you do want to stop like building more, because otherwise it's just becomes kind of a mess. So the efforts that we're doing can be parlayed into even more opportunities, and so that's what I see as a real benefit to participating in a community organization like the one that we're doing, is getting relationships, networking, developing skill sets, getting experience, and that can, anybody who actually, this is a time for even people to like pivot careers. Crypto, I've done that with my own life, so that's a ton of
Yeah, same.
opportunity where there's challenge.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And like to build on your second point, like if anyone asked me like a year and a half ago, like what I would be doing, like I did not think that I would be like working on this protocol full time, and yet here we are, and there's nowhere else I'd rather be. But I never thought that this opportunity could possibly exist, and the protocol is looking for contributors. Actually, Chad just posted like maybe 2 days ago that they're looking for some new Golang devs for THORChain core protocol development. So if that's up your alley and you're passionate about this stuff, or you just want to contribute, then that's what I started doing. And like Chad Thoreau and we just started doing Twitter Spaces, and now we just host these like sort of weekly. I don't want to call it weekly anymore because we're definitely not weekly anymore. But
Yeah, right.
we just contributed, and which is pretty much how
Yeah.
everyone in this protocol started doing it. You just contribute, and then you gain some notoriety, and and then there's so many businesses that you created on top of THORChain. Like, oh my god, like I wish I could make them all because there's so many ideas.
Yeah, it's like we were talking earlier with Patriot and the marketing Discord and stuff, is like the best way for us to make this stuff happen is just for the community to step up and do it. Just like if you have an idea, if there's something you want to, something that's missing, see how you could fill that gap. And yeah, there might be a business in there for you. There might be like, payments from whatever, like Treasury still approves some stuff, right? So yeah, like you can all just like start doing the thing that you want to exist, really. So
Yeah, it's definitely good to make sure you have positive engagement with the original core group also, like you said, because, having mutual support, it really helps people feel like they're a part of, like, so for instance, I helped organize a lot of stuff with Bitcoin back in the very, very early days, and there was like no coordination, right? It was a total mess. There wasn't any spaces or anything like this. There was one message board, and everybody was kind of on their own. And I think the Bitcoin community, like, it really kind of, in a way, fell apart in 2014 because there just wasn't a lot of engagement from the core group with a lot of the community and the industry. So keeping that going is going to be super helpful. And so definitely I'll try my best to make sure that, as somebody who's kind of helping to coordinate this effort, I'll make sure that this effort is collaborative with the THORChain group, and have like all channels open, because one of the points is you don't want to expect engineers to do marketing. This is like, as someone who's done development, I've done kind of both sides. I'm not a marketing guy or a biz dev guy. I've just had to, like, under certain circumstances, learn some of the basics about this stuff so I could help maybe guide some stuff in the beginning, not beyond like people who have expertise, but it's just when you're in the tunnel and coding and working on these crazy esoteric even math problems, there's not really the ability to develop the communications necessary for the market. It's just, like you said, the community does have to step up and be a part of outbound communications, and that's what got this whole space going, right? It was activists in the very early beginning with Bitcoin that it got it going, and same with Ethereum. There's a very strong, like, the biggest community is probably the Ethereum community by far. So that's what we can do. And yeah, thanks guys for everything and hosting the spaces too. Keep it going.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I wish more people should host like spaces and things like that. I kind of feel bad that I'm the only one that can do it, and like obviously, I've got a life too. Chad has a life. Like, everyone's doing stuff, but like there's a lot of community members who I'm sure like to talk about things, and that's how we started. Just me and Chad started doing weekly spaces and stuff, which is it was just for fun. And it's become a little bit bigger than that, but So fun.
Yeah, on
I'll try
that.
to contribute to that as well. I usually actually host a little space after a lot of these kinds of things for a few handful of people. Just keep an eye out for
Oh,
that.
nice. Yeah, I was just gonna kind of
Yeah, I was
plant the
just gonna
seeds.
say this. I was just
Oh,
gonna say the same
go
thing
ahead.
because like I feel like the IBC community is like super engaged, even though obviously they have their own chains and stuff. But there's always like some kind of like IBC Cosmos related space. It's not obviously it's not hosted by the same person every time, but they all like got their little um symbol in their names, and obviously we have like the room circle. So um uh, I think like I was thinking like how we had the catchphrase like THORChain Solstice. That's like a really good like space name. I feel like anyone could just like run a space. Like whenever like some centralized exchange gets hacked or whatever, we should just like anyone could just run like a space. We can all just hop on, just title it like THORChain Solstice. I feel
It's gonna
like
be too many
we could
spaces if we do it every time.
yeah. I feel like we could be a bit more dynamic because
I
obviously we're
caught the
trying to
joke.
run on schedule now.
I
No, that's
love it.
true.
Yeah, I think this is just
Sorry.
gonna
Yeah.
plant the seed for like when, especially like, I mean, I I don't know about you. I mean, I'm pretty sure crypto spaces have just been like down 95%. Not just Thorchain, right? It's like the whole space, right? Like, I mean, remember how many spaces there were? Like, there was at any given moment there were like 5 different interesting crypto spaces going on. Like, what, a year and a half ago or something. So, hopefully, like as our community continues to grow, and then as the broader community kind of like surges back with energy, we be having spaces every day, like different people hosting, just casual spaces, just chatting, onboarding people, explaining what it's about. So I think it's been hard to do. Like me and you, Cal, like we used to have another space besides this space every week, multi-chain live on Mondays, and that was fun. And like there were times where we had like 400 people or something. So yeah, it'll be fun to get back to that.
Yeah, these days it's just Bitcoiners talking about the Fed rate. That's the most entertaining content apparently about Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's a tragedy.
Sorry, what were you trying to say, PaperX?
No, I was saying like I feel like most of DeFi spaces these days is always like some really terrible news. Like this week is just being all curve, right? And I'll try to hop on to see like what's going on, but everyone's just like it's like super doom and gloom, right? So I just recalled I just had an idea that we had that saying like THORChain solves this. It'll be good. Maybe we have a space and always about like solutions focused rather than like just like problems. So maybe people will be they're keen to join, and like actually we can talk about how like hey, when we say not all just like decentralized swaps are the same, or like what's the point of self custody, we could do that sort of education in those spaces.
You love clicking on a space and it's like the title is like Bitcoiners Anonymous number 553, and then you go into it, and there's some kind of focused topic that it seems like it's going to be about, and then it's like, and then there's some dude talking about like, oh, they're just gonna print more money, and then all they're talking about is like like politics or like something like that. It's completely unrelated. Like I don't know. This is unrelated to what I'm saying right now, but oh god, it pisses me off so much when they do that. There's people just like, because people just come up from like everywhere, especially when there's like a big space with like thousands of people in it, and they just talk about like random stuff that's like not even on topic at all.
But I was there in the first week of Clubhouse. It's always been like this, man. That's how it was designed.
All right, anyone else want to come up here? Otherwise, we can get the space wrapped up for this week. Nope, not seeing any requests. Well, hey, it's been real, guys. Chad totally bailed on us without saying anything. It's okay. I'm not mad.
Yeah, next week.
I will do a space follow up to this for people who want to specifically talk about marketing concepts or what we're doing on that side.
Sweet, man. Be sure to keep me updated too on all this stuff, however I can help, or any of us. Just it's hard to keep up with all the channels and everything like that, and all these spaces and like, a huge thanks to everyone that actually like sticks around and listens to these. Like, you definitely don't have to. Like, all this info is just out there, and so it's not like this is any like proprietary info that like is being conjured up. Like,
these are the chattest THORchads in the game. Like, they're here every week, no matter what. We could just shoot the shit all day, and no one's leaving.
I love that and appreciate that so much. Honestly, because like I don't know
absolutely
who would come and join a space like this, but apparently there are people that do.
I'll also shout out a couple more spaces. There's THORSwap and Cryptonary space on Monday coming up, so definitely come to that. Come support. That should be pretty cool. And I think we're going to have another just regular THORSwap space on Tuesday or so. So, big week of spaces coming up.
Tuesday. Wow, you guys are really mixing it up.
Yeah, well, we were going to do today, and then this went back to Friday, so we're like, oh, we'll push it.
Oh, yeah, and sorry about the all the timing stuff. Yeah, Chad being overseas is really messing everything up, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll have to get back into a routine at some point, but works for now.
Yes, sir. So. All right, let's wrap it up then. No one else wants to come up. All right, thanks everyone for coming, and thank you guys for coming and speaking. See you.
Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.